Well, welcome. I am watching the Nando cut talk about why people aren't rewatching Fantastic Four on Disney Plus. Um, One thing I would say is like there's a lot going on this year, and a lot of people have been leaving Disney Plus in droves. Also, I haven't finished the video, so we'll see what what he what he does here. But also, I think a lot of people are like, I don't think people are like looking for like the nuclear family idea, but I think a lot of people are so used to the idea that it kind of just is going to skate by. Um, like the idea of the Fantastic Fours. Mm. Traditional heteronormative family is kind of what everybody kind of expects. You know what I'm saying? It's not anything unique. So it's kind of, um, that's why I think people didn't really care about the movie as much because it's such a normal, normal, trope, storytelling trope. Like, he was talking about how, um, somebody did like a whole page about going from
the recent Marvel movies, and then based on the first 5 days of their release on Disney Plus, how many people watched them? So this is specifically trying to capture that number. When this comes on Disney Plus, how many people immediately watch it, or like watch it within the first couple of days? For reference, the most watched recent one.
So, moving over from theater to Disney Plus. It's interesting. Black Panther's number one with 14 million views. That's crazy. That's crazy.
This was Black Panther Wakanda Forever at 14.1 million views. So like that is a good number. I don't even know how it compares to other movies, but I do know how it compares to these. Then Captain America Brave New World, a movie that came out this year, 6.4 million. But that's like what
Yeah.
You would expect. Black Panther Wakanda Forever did really well critically, made a lot of money, people really liked it. It was a good movie, and it was a follow-up to a really successful.
You know, my issue with Nando is that I don't know. Like, I feel like Nando is, he's interesting because I think he's a little too in the middle. In my opinion, he's a little too like neutral, and it's kind of like he was just saying like. It's like it was almost like he couldn't find words to say was how good the Black Panther movie was. Did really well.
Made a lot of money.
Made a lot of money. You hear it?
People really liked it. It was
People really like. Did you not like the movie? I'm confused. Like so like another thing that he did. Happy birthday, Shep. Oh no. It's like one of those things like when I watch non-black creators talk about anything with black people in it, it's just like I'm trying to give you like the benefit of the doubt. You know, what's up? Why are you wearing a bonnet? Because I like bonnets.
Good movie, and it was a follow-up
The
to a
fuck?
really successful movie. So, like, for that reason, you would expect it would do pretty well. And then Captain America: Brave New World, bad reviews, not great box office, a movie that people generally thought was kind of a mess. So yeah, not as many people are going to be psyched to see that the day it
What's
comes out
up?
on Disney Plus. Thunderbolts below Captain America: Brave New World at 5.5, which makes sense because the Thunderbolts just aren't as big of a thing as Captain America. So there are certain people that are just like, ooh, okay, Captain America, where's Thunderbolts? You do have to kind of sell people on that idea. The Marvels got a 5.3, Black Widow a 5.1. Black Widow is weird because Black Widow also premiered.
Chaplin, I don't know what you're. I was like, you're. I don't. Whatever, bro. What's up, Nathan? How you doing? I'm watching a video.
On Disney Plus are.
What is a? It's 8 o'clock.
That factors into this number.
Some Eric.
Then, at the bottom of the list, Fantastic Four First Steps with 4.9. And at the bottom of the list, Fantastic Four First Steps with 4.9. So looking at all the movies that came out in the last few years, Fantastic Four First Steps was the lowest viewed on the first 5 days.
Totally gave you cap.
Like,
Wow.
a somewhat popular movie.
It's just
Really well
stating.
made a decent amount.
Thanks for saying your opinion.
Has
I
numerous-
appreciate that.
I wouldn't say it has the same problems as Thunderbolts or the Marvels. So you'd have to expect.
I should say-
If I had to guess, I would say this would get somewhere.
Because it's great. Let's supporting gay creators like
right,
you.
like,
I
Captain
appreciate
America:
it.
Brave New World, probably not as much as mine.
Nathan.
That would have been my guess.
So,
I would never have guessed. It would be
Hey.
close. And a lot of people this week.
I never said that.
Why?
But
was this well-reviewed movie
Mr.
that made
Chaplin
money?
seems to
Not
think so.
also
So
movies that
I
don't
appreciate that
want
he,
That's
you know.
usually how these work. And I think there's a couple of different answers I've seen, different opinions people have. I think they're all worth looking at. I think A, this is an interesting thing, like this is an interesting phenomenon. B, I think Marvel's got to figure this out.
It really
Sure,
doesn't
they're
matter.
doing all of the math you possibly could do to
So,
isolate
you know,
all the
that's
variables.
real.
But I think this is going to be potentially a problem for Marvel,
Okay, let's see what he got to say.
and I'd like to see what the truth is behind it. What's happening.
I want to see
So I'm
that.
gonna go through a couple of responses that I saw pretty quickly. This one I saw all over the place. It was like, well, people can see Brave New World in theaters. People saw Fantastic Four First Steps in theaters, so they didn't need to see it again. Whereas Brave New World with Thunderbolts, it didn't
Nah.
see it in theaters, so it comes on a Disney Plus.
That's not how that works.
That would make sense if Black Panther: Wakanda Forever was not so much higher than all the rest of them. Like, it seems like up until Fantastic Four, a more viewed movie in theaters would lead to a more viewed movie on Disney Plus. Because there's plenty of people that don't see it in theaters and wait for Disney Plus, and if they hear it's not a good movie, they're not going to go check it out on Disney Plus. Second thing, and this,
I slightly disagree. I think if somebody told you the movie wasn't good to go see it in theaters, I'm much more likely to go and watch it on Disney Plus. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for the sub. I appreciate that.
maybe I could be convinced factored into it in some way. It's that after ABC benched Jimmy Kimmel because of the Trump administration, a lot of people canceled their Disney Plus to boycott. Now, obviously Jimmy Kimmel is back, and a lot of those people probably got their Disney Plus back, but maybe a bunch of them just didn't, and I wouldn't find that incredibly surprising because of how the economy has been tough for people at the end of this year. Like, you stop paying for Disney Plus, a week passes, you're fine, your life is going on, and then they fix the Jimmy Kimmel thing, and I'm like, pay for this.
Appreciate you, Nathan.
Just whatever, check it out later, maybe I'll get Disney Plus for a month and a month. It's kind of like the Target.
Love you too, bro.
Like, I'm seeing a lot of people saying they boycotted Target because of their anti-woke, anti-DEI agenda, because that just, they didn't like that. But then, if Target changed that, if they fixed it, they still probably wouldn't come back because they learned to live their lives with that. So the way we would figure that out with that data
That's true.
is you would play this against other Disney Plus data from this week, so like something very recent, or at least something from the last maybe couple of weeks, because the Jimmy Kimmel thing has been resolved for a while. So the people that were going to get their Disney Plus back got it back. But that being said, I don't think that accounts for all of it. I don't think that many people canceled their Disney Plus accounts. And even if they did, like, I feel like Disney Plus probably did a bunch of work to get those people back, and probably deals and stuff. So I could be convinced. You show me a number that's like half of Disney Plus subscribers canceled their subscription. In response to film damage, well, okay, I guess maybe that does have a pretty big effect on how I don't think that's the number. So
Thank you.
I don't think that's
Appreciate it.
I also saw someone bring up that it's a weird time to release a movie like this, because certain people
It was a weird time.
tend to watch only Christmas stuff from this time on. Like this part of the year, December, it's Christmas season. So if you put Fantastic Four First Steps on, even if it's like in the very beginning of December, no one's gonna watch it. I definitely don't live in one of those households. I'm sure there's ones that do, but I also think
Drink your water, kids.
This isn't like a mall where it has to be
Water's really
constantly
good.
playing Christmas music all the time.
It's good
I
for
think
you.
If a movie came out that people were excited about,
I'm not being forced to say that, by the way. I'm serious. It's good for you. You should drink water. Drink water, guys. Drink the water. Drink the water. This is not. Can't find you. This is my name, Isaiah Senku.
They would. I don't think, especially this early in December. So those three explanations, I don't really want. It leaves us with two, and they're similar, but I think different in specific ways. And the first one, and this one's hard to quantify, was actually like superhero movie fatigue. Like people have been talking about that for a while. This year was not a good year for superhero movies. Like, say what you will about superhero movie fatigue.
Because the movies weren't that great. It's not a good year because the movies weren't that great. They were like mid. They were like, man, they weren't even that good. What are we talking about?
Deadpool and Wolverine, movie you'd expect to make money, made money. And people liked it. It was fun. But that being said, this year, I think, is trickier. You had Captain America Brave New World, a movie that was not reviewed particularly well. So, like, that didn't do super well. We had Thunderbolts, a movie that I think everybody would acknowledge out of the three Marvel ones this year is a tough sell.
It is a tough sell.
Because, like, there's for teams that people may not be familiar with, and it doesn't really have too much of a basis in the comics. There's just not a lot to grab onto. They could do pretty well considering that, but still, you could say, like, if they released that in 2017, when Marvel was crushing it, it would have made $600 million. Maybe. So it's hypothetical. Fantastic Four, like I said, performed okay, not an enormous hit. Superman also performed pretty well, but by the end of this year, there's a good chance it will also be knocked out of the top 10 movies of this year. What did really well this year were movies for kids. That's, like, I'd say, the main selling point for theaters these days.
Sorry, I only found gay stuff. Cool. Not you though. What website are you using?
Very well. Avatar, apparently, according to the Golden Globes, has already achieved box office success, even though it hasn't come out yet. And, like, Superman's a special case because this is also a character that has had trouble on film and has a weird reputation, even though he is very popular.
People love Superman, but the movie is
that
just...
movie, I would say, performed about as well as you would expect. Based on the reviews, like, it did pretty well. It made a fair amount of money, and I think people liked it. It got a lot of attention. I would imagine it did pretty well first week streaming numbers, although it's different platforms, so maybe that changes things. I'm not sure. Either way, I think you could say that there is a decline in interest in superheroes, for sure. I don't think any of the movies this year were absolute grand slams. I don't think we've had an absolute grand slam superhero movie in a while, maybe since, for me at least, I know other people think differently about it. Guardians 3, I think it felt like a grand slam, and that did perform very well. It kind of met all the expectations. So, like, are we fatigued by superhero movies, or are we fatigued by average movies that happen to have superheroes? Hard to tell. I'm working on...
I think it's average movies that happen to have superheroes.
The other answer that I actually saw a lot of people had, and really got me thinking.
I baited both, though.
Like, interested in reading people's responses, reading their reactions, and then thinking back to myself, like, I haven't rewatched this movie, and like I think I said in the video already, maybe I didn't. I don't rewatch movies very much. Even if I love a movie, like, I really liked Sinners, I haven't rewatched it because I got a great experience in the theater. You know, I've seen a clip or two online. I get it. Maybe I'll rewatch it sometime down the line.
He's white though. He doesn't really understand, like, how important it truly is.
Unless there's a lot of details.
He's just a white kid. White kid. He's not a kid. He's like a grown man, but he's a white man.
And was one of the only movies I saw in theaters this year twice. was Weapons. I loved Weapons, and like I think that movie for me was one that I could not wait to see it.
God, of course he loved Weapons. I don't know. I was just being critiqueful of him for no reason.
That lends itself very much to rewatching once you know what's going on. Changes things, and I just think it's a fun time. But like that's what it.
Who? That was just this YouTuber that I like watching.
Basically, to get me to rewatch a movie. So like I didn't rewatch Fantastic Four, but I didn't rewatch it. I also, because I make videos about them, watch these movies a billion times out of context clips anyway. So you know, I don't want to get sick. But I saw a lot that said something to the effect of, listen, I enjoyed the movie when I saw it in theaters, and I had no interest in seeing it again. But then other people would say, and I think this is the more interesting one, I kind of liked this movie when I saw it in theaters, but as time went on, I liked it less or was less interested. And that I think is a very interesting reaction to a movie like this, because I don't think that's how, like, you know, Thunderbolts worked, for example.
People like Thunderbolts the more they thought about it. At least for me. I liked it more.
Like it and then get excited
Superman
for
too.
Immediately, like that's, you know, that's hype. It's a big part of this whole industry. And people point to a lot of things about Fantastic Four First Steps that they didn't really love. And as I read through them, I remembered that I gave it a very positive review. And there were a lot of things I did really like about that movie. The production design was impeccable.
Beautiful.
The music, the score was my favorite Marvel score in forever. The effects looked incredible. I loved Ben Grimm. I thought Galactus looked great. Like, the visuals were awesome. I thought the casting for most of the characters was perfect. I thought some of the humor worked for me. I enjoyed Johnny specifically. I thought he was fun. But I cannot deny what a lot of people were saying about it. Looking back, I do kind of agree with. So I'm not saying that this movie is bad, and you shouldn't like it if you liked it. Or anything.
Say what you gotta say, man.
I understand why people, when reevaluating it, notice some of the weirdness associated with it. Like, for instance, and I'm sure these are things that some people said after they watched the movie, I think a lot of this I had to kind of sit with to really, like, feel what maybe didn't feel right. I think the biggest mistake this movie made, looking back, is like, there's so little Ben Grimm. He has so little to do. It's the smallest plot line.
He barely does anything in the movie.
I don't like the 2015 movie very much. I do think the Tim Story movies, while not great, did get some things right, and one of them
was Ben Grimm.
Like, the emotion of the first movie, at least, around Ben Grimm. I would say the second movie, that's kind of Johnny Storm, and maybe that's why it doesn't work exactly as well. But like Ben Grimm being a character who has to deal with all this pathos and stuff, like then Dr. Doom offers him the option to lose his power. Like, him being the central figure makes total sense, and that's how Fantastic Four stories usually work. So I find it strange, looking back, the Fantastic Four First Steps gave him next to nothing. Sure, he was around for the big fights and like piloted the spaceship and the action scenes, but like, what was his plot line? And there's some people that said they liked that he didn't have the plot line of like, oh, I'm a monster, no one can love me. But hey, he kind of does have that plot line anymore. He has the plot line of like, oh, can I even date the one from Broken Fix? And then in the end, he kind of does, but not really. So like, there's like one scene where he's a little sad about how he's different. But even earlier in the movie where he's like, oh, I'm so sorry about what happened. And the thing's like, no, it's okay. I don't really, that's not a big deal for me anymore. Which I think is an interesting thing for that character to do eventually. But I do think one of the most interesting things about that character is that he has that problem compared to the other ones. Compared to all the rest of the members of the Fantastic Four, he got the bad power. And seeing him overcome that, seeing him come to terms with that, is a really important part of making this character likable.
Yeah.
And making this whole kind of teamwork. So I think, A, we didn't do that. We didn't give him any really interesting ways to interact with Galactus or anything like that. He had barely any important moments in any of the big fights. And by any of the big fights, I mean the two big fights. This is another thing that, looking back, I'm like, it is weird that there is no opening action sequence in this movie. The pacing Fantastic Four First Steps is so strange, and I could tell.
Yeah, the pacing was a little odd to me too.
A lot, and it seems like it was rewritten, and there were a lot of different drafts of the script. But also, there was a version of this movie where it starts with them fighting John Malkovich, who you can see in one of the trailers, and his super apes that you do see in a clip on the Ted Gilbert show. This movie is light on like fight scenes and action sequences, and part of why is because the big first one just isn't there. And do you need to have a big action sequence in every movie? No, and I commend the people who worked on the movie.
I think it should have been in there. It would have more of what they do as a team.
Start with them having dinner and finding out she's pregnant and stuff. We'll show some superhero exploits so that people understand what these guys can do, but that is not going to be the most important thing that happens at the beginning of our movie. I think that's cool. However, I think there are a lot of people who watch these movies because they're fun, thrilling adventure movies, even if they don't fully work. You get that. You get a fun fight scene every so often. Right? Like, say what you will about Brave New World, there's some good action sequences in that movie.
True.
The fight with Hulk is cool. The fight with the Jets is cool. The fight in the beginning where he fights the Serpent Society guys is fine. And the bit where he fights Leader is okay. Listen, it's not a great movie. It does check those
It's fine, but you get the point.
Fantastic Four just doesn't. But it's strange because you can feel the absence of that scene so clearly in the opening of the movie. For people that didn't watch all the trailers and weren't able to see where these scenes were, originally they were going to get introduced in Ted Gilbert show. He's going to talk about them a little bit, probably show that clip of like them. They went to space and all the guys.
They went to space.
And then revealed the Fantastic Four, but oh wait, their communicators all went off, and they have to go fight the Red Ghost and his super apes, and all the things that they do, like Sue catching the thing and Johnny welding the monorail back together, was part of that fight. To me, the Red Ghost would have caused chaos throughout the city to split up the Fantastic Four, but then Reed has to fight the apes kind of by himself, and that's tricky, but like fun. But we didn't do that, and I think you can feel that this movie doesn't need that, but does want that. Also, looking back, I was 50-50 on how far they should go with Reed in terms of the stretching. I don't mind the Galactic stretching really hard, like hurt, because I like that he has some limits to how far he can stretch without like straining himself, right? Because he didn't die. It was just like he was not comfortable. It is kind of
right. He wasn't It's interesting. I'm curious how like the idea of like Mr. Fantastic when he stretches, like it looks like it's supposed to be hurting, but I'm not sure if it's supposed to hurt or if it just is like really uncomfortable. Like he just really rather not. Like I just rather not be stretched this far because I have to focus more on not like turning into a puddle. I guess, and that's a lot of mental strain.
This is a movie that takes place 4 years, I believe, after they went to Fantastic Four, and Reed does not really do any fun stretching stuff. Like he doesn't turn into a ball. He doesn't make big giant hands that catch somebody. He's kind of swinging around and using arms to pull yourself towards the thing sometimes, but it's a very minimal amount of Mr. Fantastic stretching. Like, I think the movie did a good job of giving Invisible Woman some action moments. I think the movie did a good job of giving Johnny things to do in the action sequences. Like, looking back, Reed and Ben really didn't have it. At no point in the movie do they just straight up fight the Silver Surfer. And, like, can they? Not really. They're not really matched to fight the Silver Surfer.
Yeah, they lose, but like,
show it.
At least try, like.
And not like the scene when they're escaping, but like when she shows up, they fight her for the first time in the middle of the city. Just so we can see that happen. So that part of the pacing was weird. I also think to myself, this critique, and the more I think about it, the more I kind of agree, the world felt kind of empty in a way that was strange.
Yeah.
Obviously, space.
Yeah.
That's space. That's how it works. There's only 6 people in there. The 4 Fantastic Fours. I guess 5 when it's the kid. Silver Surfer and Galactus. Not a lot of characters.
Yeah.
On Earth, though, there were some shots of the Fantastic Four interacting with people, and I like that. But like,
I feel like the problem with the Fantastic Four movie is that it looks really good, it looks really pretty, but this universe feels too perfect. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a little too perfect. You know, it's like there's no issues anywhere, like. Sure, I guess, but like the Fantastic Four shouldn't be the Fantastic Four if this universe is just going to be a good universe. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. They got to deal with actual villains in their own city.
The scenes in the end of the movie are the Fantastic Four by themselves trying to work
and they're
out
in New
this
York.
problem, and I think that is good. But on the other hand, it's clear that we went to pretty great lengths to create this 60s world, this retro future.
Hold up, what do you say? This nigga said Brawlhalla. Sorry, y'all. It's time to go. It's time for Brawl. I'm not streaming it though. I'm just hanging with the friends. Bye.